Buckle up for this one. It's a doozy. Find the exact value of tangent 5 pi over 12. Obviously, we're not given on the unit circle 5 pi over 12, so I need to kind of rewrite this in a way where I use some of those numbers that seem to appear on a tangent circle, and I can either add or subtract them. Now, what I'm going to do is I can get to 5 pi by doing 2 pi and 3 pi over 12. Now, what that does is once I have those officially split up, I can write this out as tangent. 2 pi over 12 is pi over 6, so a unit circle number, plus 3 pi over 12 is pi over 4, another unit circle number. Now, you may have the sine, and hopefully you do, and the cosine addition properties memorized, but you probably don't have the tangent. So I'm going to go about this in probably the longest way possible, just in case you don't have tangent memorized. Tangent is the same as sine over cosine. So I can write this out as sine pi over 6 plus pi over 4 all over cosine pi over 6 plus pi over 4. Okay? And then I deal with each one individually, which is not going to be super pleasant. But you know what? That's kind of what I get for not having tangent memorized, because honestly, I don't have it memorized. So basically, when you add two sines, what you do is you do sine of the first, cos of the second, plus cos of the first, sine of the second. So sine of the first, cos of the second, plus cos of the first, sine of the second. Barely squeezed that in there. Barely squeezed it in. Cosine is, if you're adding them, is going to be cos cos minus sine sine. So cos of the first, so cos of pi over 6, cos of the second, so pi over 4, again, minus sine of the first, so sine pi over 6, sine of the second, pi over 4. Now, I'm assuming at this stage we feel okay with the unit circle, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time reminding ourselves how to find the sine of pi over 6. So, we're just going to go right to it. Sine of pi over 6 is a half. Cosine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. Plus cosine of pi over 6 is root 3 over 2. And sine of pi over 4 is root 2 over 2. Cosine of pi over 6, which I already did, is root 3 over 2. Cosine of pi over 4, which I already did, is right here, root 2 over 2. Minus sine of pi over 6, which I did over here, is a half. Sine of pi over 4, which I did, is root 2 over 2. Okay, so this is where it's going to get fun. Root 2 times 1 is root 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Root 3 times root 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. You're adding on top. All over. You're subtracting on the bottom. Let's get a different color. All these colors. Root 3 times root 2 is root 6. 2 times 2 is 4. And purple. 1 times root 2 is root 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So they combine nicely. Root 2 over 4 plus root 6 over 4 is root 2 plus root 6 over 4. Root 6 minus root 2 over 4. Now, since these are both over 4, I can multiply the top and the bottom by the reciprocal of the denominator, which I'm just going to kind of skip that step and go right to, actually, you know what, let me write it down here because I know what's going to happen next. Root 2 plus root 6 over root 6 minus root 2. Now, chances are you're going to have a teacher or a test or a problem where you're not allowed to have square roots on the bottom. So how do I eliminate a root minus a root? You do the conjugate, which is going to be multiplying the top and the bottom by that root plus the root. And what that does is that gives us difference of squares type problems. Now, upstairs, it doesn't give us difference of squares. It just, FOILs out. So if you were to put these in parentheses and put these in parentheses, you would FOIL things out. Root 2 times root 6 is root 12. I can simplify that. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. Root 6 times root 6 is 6. And root 6 times root 2 is root 12 again. Root 6 times root 6 is 6, plus root 12 minus root 12, so the root 12s go away. Root 2 times root 2 is 2, so that's going to be minus 2. All right, so that's 2 root 12, if I add the 2 root 12s together, plus 8. 6 minus 2 is 4. Still not done yet. Root 12 can be simplified to 2 root 3. So this becomes 4 root 3 plus 8 over 4. Now, still not done because I have a 4, an 8, and a 4. They're all divisible by 4. So last but not least, 4 root 3 divided by 4 is regular root 3, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. That is my final answer. So I told you, buckle up. Okay, hopefully you did. It's the law in many states, unless you're sitting in the back. All right, never mind. Like and subscribe.